Hello, 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 and welcome to another one line of code. I am One Lion, and I hope you are all well. Whoa, my throat wants to be funny. I'm looking through some stuff, trying to figure out where we are. Um, I am in Colorado. That's where I am. Hope you're all well and having a great, fantastic day so far. I am not extremely, I'm being very busy and trying to respond to an email that just came in. Yes, that's still happening. I wasn't really expecting that to happen. I need this to show up on my screen, please. House. Okay, that's Faust. And then the next thing that I need is this thing to be open. I click here. I need something over here. Just give me 20 more hours and I'll be ready. Hello, President. Not sure. It's just us? Really? That's cool. Well, I hope you are fantastic. Not even the bot? Hello, bot. Are you in here? No. It's not. Good morning. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. Yes. Okay, so bot is here. That's good. TBDGamer is lurking for stand up. I'm almost done with this email. I just need to put another 4,000 words to make this a nice short story. I had words that I was going to use for this, and they all escaped my brain. um, in any case, which is my favorite phrase to use in emails. um, 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 words. Words are hard when I'm trying to do this quickly. Oh wow, did the light just change or was it just me? The sun just seemed like it turned super orange suddenly. That was weird. Um, oops. um, calendar, calendar. Send. I didn't even proofread it. I just pushed the send button as soon as I wrote the last word. Probably had a typo on the very, very last word. That would be funny. That's how it always happens to me because I don't proofread. Anyway, hello Xcoding. How are you today? Let's start with a shout out to Xcoding. If you don't know Xcoding, he is a software developer working on making his own shell, his own terminal, and it's really, really chill over on his stream, really laid back, nice place to hang out, watch some cool stuff happen. I'm a little busy. There was more stuff today than I was expecting there to be, mostly because after after changing the way that my schedule works, I still have no idea how to word this. After becoming self-employed, after moving from a full-time employment position to being self-employed, I now interface directly with, well, I mean, I was, I guess, while I was at Sagetti, but interface directly with the clients, but the clients aren't just the people that want the products, they are the people that use the products that I am developing and maintaining and stuff. So I get emails from them now. And now that they know that I'm full-time helping out, full-time working on the applications, they aren't shy about asking for things that are broken, almost as if I am not only the developer, but also IT support, which is kind of annoying, but it's still, I don't know, it's different. I can't say that it's better than the situation that I was in. It's just, it's different at the moment. I'm going to hopefully be able to work things out with the contract manager, with the person that I pretty much answer to, and see if we can work out a way to have a more organized change management process, so that instead of just getting emails that say, I need this done, I'm pointing at the screen, with this report. And like the thing that I was sent in the email was this. They took this image and they attached it to the email, and they're like, can you look at this report for me? I'm wanting to send it out next week. I want to use it as a template to send it out next week. And that's pretty much all that they sent. The image and that blurb. And I'm like, okay, what's going on with the report? So then I have to do research and figure out what it might be, because I'm like, I know that I converted all of the original projects and got all of this stuff working and got these reports and charts to do everything that they're supposed to do, but I don't exactly know what it is that they are supposed to do per se, especially since it's been such a long time since I've worked on the charts themselves. And so they wrote back to me shortly after while I was trying to respond to their email, and they're like, well, I think I may have figured it out. I changed the report to logarithmic, which was incorrect. And then, what did they say? Oh, I picked logarithmic, which was inappropriate, but then I switched back to regular and it worked. And I'm like, but what worked? So I came in here and I had to do it myself. And so when I did it myself, which again takes me away from the things that I was doing, things that I were doing, the things that, anyway, to stop, interrupt my process, look at this, try to figure out what's going on, and then, chart options. And then now I see it's the y-axis. It's probably supposed to have more of a gap in between the numbers instead of having a number for every one point, which is crazy that it did this. I don't know why it did this, but it did. So I'm like, okay, I can. So you have a workaround that you were able to find. That's awesome. I can look at this, but I'm in the middle of answering, doing one feature and responding to 2 other issues at the moment. So, oh yeah. The other thing that got me was when they said that they are, they're wanting to send this out in a report next week. Today is Friday. Next week starts on Monday. That's not a very big time window. And you're just kind of assuming that I'm sitting around waiting for whatever you want to give, that person specifically wants to give me. Okay, I'm good now. I'm done. I said my thing. That's how I'm doing. Yeah, cool. All right. So they responded to me and they're like, yep, all of the description that you put that I probably should have put myself is correct. And definitely take a look at it when you have the time. I understand, kind of thing. But yeah. That is one thing about having a project manager that's actually being a project manager is all work requests go through them and then they divvy up the work. So you're getting information and priorities from one person as opposed to whoever just happens to send you an email or call you or write a text to you, which I'm not a big fan of. I need this open? Oh, no, I don't. Not that one. Not that one. Close. Anyway, hi. Welcome in. So I am going to say hello again. It is Friday. Fridays on this stream are community days. And these are days not when I spend the first 15 to 20 minutes complaining about work management stuff and my woes, but a day when I invite you, the wonderful community, to have discussions and to lead the discussion that we have today specifically on this day. And there are many avenues in which you can participate in Community Day. One of them is simply by chatting in chat and bringing up a topic and we'll discuss it. If you have something like projects or demos or whatever it is that you want to show off, then today is a great day to do that. I mean, any day is really, but today's an even better day because I'm not necessarily working on anything in particular. So we can just do whatever, you know? Oh, man, I love this thing. I've been making so much progress on this. Give me this one. Do you remember that thing that I was trying to talk through? I have many gripes, says TBD. Well, one of them isn't that your stand-up went super long today, because it seems like it's over already. But while you're talking, here's a shout out for TBDGamer, another wonderful .NET developer. On Mondays and Tuesdays for the foreseeable future, he will be working on Godot Game Dev, working on a top-down shooter. But he will most likely still talk about Water Drink Water, which is his community project, the one that he does on stream with everyone else in his community. You can contribute to that yourself if you want. It is an Blazor app that allows you to track, not allows you to, that is intended for you to be used to be able to track how much water you are consuming each day. You set goals for yourself, compare your progress with your friends, not compete, but compare, and just use it. Yeah, and stuff. Thank you for the glass half full. You are welcome. The glass just has water in it, so I don't care how full or empty it is. I just know that it's a glass, water's involved. Guys, I think this is piss. Oop, another drink water. I'll see if I can find that meme, because that's one of my favorites. Not in this browser. More water. Oh man, I'm gonna have to pee like so early on in the stream. More water. I'm gonna empty, or it's gonna get empty too fast. More water. Pessimistic. More. Oh wait, I don't have beer. Optimistic, realistic, glass half empty. Oh, coffee. Coffee. That would be nice. I put email, empty, meme, and piss. This here, I love this. Open image in a new tab. Optimist, I'm half full. Pessimist, I'm half empty. Realist, guys, I think this is piss. Anyway, I love it. That about sums up my week. But yes, so now that I think I've stalled enough, we should also have, the other half of TBDGamer's stream, or I guess not really half, the rest of the week, TBDGamer does a project called Liquid Sky at the moment. That's what it's called, and it's a project management application. This morning he was playing with styling. He's having so much fun with styling, it looks like. You don't seem frustrated at all by it. Not in the least. No? I need to do a better job at that then. I'm good at hiding my emotions. But yeah, so check out his streams. He streams every weekday at 7 a.m. Eastern time, which is UTC -4 currently. And so the other fantastic person that we saw hop into our stream, another wonderful streamer, is Irish John Games, who is a game developer using Unity, which also means that he does a lot of C# coding as part of his game development. It is a massive, big ol' boat of a project that he manages all on his own. It is super duper impressive. Check it out. Take a look at it. It's called Rise of Piracy, which if we do YAR with 3 R's, we'll get a link to it on Steam. You can also see it on YAR too. You can also see it on his publisher's page, Microprose. It's probably no longer on the banner. Oh, it is. It's still on the banner. That is awesome. It's so freaking cool to see this every time. Definitely check it out. Wishlisted on Steam. If you go to the link there, it'll open in the browser, but most of you aren't logged in the browser, so just scroll down a little bit somewhere, and there should be a button that says open in Steam. Where did it go? Open desktop app. Wow, they moved it so that you could, see it easier instead of keeping it in the same place where it was and adding this banner. Oh my gosh. Oh. We're only noticing it because the primary thing we've been doing on this stream, at least, and on TBDGamer stream on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, is UI UX stuff. But yeah, open in Steam, you'll get to the page. You're most likely logged in your Steam app that you have downloaded, so wishlist it there. Check it out. It's a real-time strategy game where you can play as a seafaring crew. Choose your play style kind of thing. Awesome stuff. Good times. Yesterday he was really, really unhappy with the, what is it, a mapping system, and he was kicking it around and being like, why is it doing this? That's when you know you're watching a real developer. When a lot of the stream is spent on why is this happening? But anyway, check him out. Wonderful, amazing streamers. Absolutely. And if there is anything that any of you want to share, screenshots, hey, I won the Battle Royale on Simple Game Dev stream. Screenshots, just your app progress, your GitHub, whatever, feel free to do so. And I'll even play game trailers with sound, especially for you, TBDGamer. I want to see your game trailer for your top-down shooter. Because I'm sure you've gotten to a point where you're already ready to make a trailer for it. Oh dear. Oh dear. You've reminded me I need to upload new screenshots and stuff. Well, you're welcome. I think. Maybe. Hey, look. Stream Elements wants you to check out Rise of Piracy. How cool is that? I really need to get these commands sent to the actual Automated Realms bot. Automated Realms. And this is the message that I would send to Automated Realms from the chat bot so that it responds. Remake this. Rewrite this shout out to make it sound epic. Like viewers don't want to miss out seeing the game. Yeah. That's lame. You just took what I fed you and added the word epic and called Irish John Games fascinating. Always fascinating. Although he is. That's not a lie. TBDGamer said, yeah, gameplay trailer. I have a vision. It'll show a potato being dragged across a desk by a piece of string with the caption, actual in-game experience. Add an extra R. Have you heard about this new game coming out, Rise of Piracy? I hadn't seen anything about it. Look, the hype is already gaining ground. I can't word today, but that's fine. I don't have to, because today is a day for you to talk, to bring up topics. So I told you the first avenue for you to participate in Community Day. The second avenue, if you feel like it, is to hop into Discord and hop into any of the voice channels. Let me know in chat that you're waiting in a voice channel, and I'll pull you into the stream room. And I say let me know in chat here because I most likely won't be looking over at Discord. But anyway, let me know, pull you into the stream room, and you'll be able to use your voice to have conversation, to lead the conversation, to just talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. And yeah, the only thing that I ask for Community Day is that you keep it relevant to the stream's content. Avoid purposefully being offensive, and just be mindful, kind of thing. Did I get to the fun part? Oh, yeah, the fun part. So here's what I've been working on for my work day while we wait for people who are interested in Community Day talking, because I don't really have any topics today. There are obviously things that I could bring up that I could bring up, period. But I just don't have anything in a specific. Oh, there we go. Dukasoft gave us one. Is this one generated by ChatGPT or Gemini or one of the other ones? Any of the other ones? Or is this a Dukabot created one? Anyway, it says, the perfect blend of action, adventure, and RTS. Begin your journey as the lowly captain of a small vessel, end as the commander of a threatening fleet. Rise to glory how you see fit. Trade, fight, recruit, grow, pillage, ally, destroy, and conquer. Check out Rise of Piracy. It's generated by Microprose, so that's what they put for it. That is epic. Like I said, that's what I was expecting Automated Realms to create, but no, lame. Yeah, so this is what I worked on. Are we even still running? Are you even running, bro? It is. It is. Okay. Figma, because I always have Figma open. Do you remember that time when I was trying to talk through how to do historical records and do the querying and charts and stuff for historical records? This is the app that has that. And specifically, we're looking at this performance chart here, where if I pick a system that has well history records, then if I pick a date range where those changes happened, it'll display both. Oh, it's gonna fail, which is fine. You can fail. You're allowed. Or Steam. So probably Journal. Well, that's even more epic if he came up with it himself. Okay, chart API is now running, so we'll get a chart next time. But you can see here where it's like, this is the well number that we currently call it, but this is the actual well number when we took the sample on this date. And you'll see that go all the way through the current most recent date, which is when this well replaced this well. And so trying to consolidate all of that information and aggregate it is not easy. So let's say that I went through 2022, then the only well that was active during the time frame that I'm specifying was this 37013, which means that we shouldn't have any kind of parenthetical, because during that time that well was not replaced, and so we're not treating it as this first well, or so I say. I don't really know when this well was replaced. Oh well. Just do it. Okay, and you can see here, no more parenthetical, just the previous well that was there, 37013. And you can see all of its information. And the way that we are maintaining those wells is the feature that I am adding to the application. And so that is done in this tab. And it's going really slow, I'm hoping, because it's in debug and not because this is how slow it actually is. It shouldn't be. We'll find out. Okay, so if a well has history records, then it gets this little icon here. And when you click the little icon, it does this little animation that shows the history. This is supposed to have, and I'm sure it does, but it's supposed to have a date that the well was effective, and it does. But why isn't it showing? It looks kind of like an overflow issue. Excuse me, are you suddenly overflow hidden? Because you should be overflow visible. Not you either. Wiedja. Ah, here it is. Overflow hidden. It should be overflow visible. So I'll fix that eventually. But so this is showing the history, but if you want to add records to the history, then you click on this little double arrow that indicates swap out this well with another one. And then I added all of this UI for being able to maintain new well records, replace that well record with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or something with whatever effective date. You can insert records in the middle, and as you change the value over here, 7123 with 37124, then you'll see that that updates as well, and it just goes on and on and on. Chica Trooper is here. If you commit this, which it should work, or actually it doesn't do anything when you commit it, but it does tell this thing to requery and give me all of the wells with their history again. I wanted it to be where it only requeries that one row, but I don't have things set up for that, but I need to. Then there's this show all well history, collapse well history. This is the effective date that this well currently exists in the system. These are new wells, so if you need to add a new well, then you just do this. I give you instructions. You get these nice little tooltip things and blah, blah, blah. Click add, you get a new well. You can reorder them simply by dragging them around. Click apply or revert. And all of it works. So the only thing that's left for me to do on this is to get this commit button to work. And then, like, when you add a well to the beginning, as long as this effective date is null, then that means that this is the first date of whatever well, which means that you shouldn't be able to fill this out unless you put an effective date. The other thing is making sure that this effective date is before the next record's effective date, and that the to well, again, you change the to well, it changes the from well on the next record. So yeah. So that's this app, and I'm really happy with this, especially since the reason I was opening Figma, I designed it first. So I don't think that I would have been able to come up with that UI without first having gone through this process. Oops. Oh my goodness. Oh, right. Cool. This is the thing that I was actually looking for, though. Has records, doesn't has records, inserting a record in the middle. So I came up with all of these designs first, and then I implemented it, and that made it so easy. Like this part here is a slog. It's getting a little bit more enjoyable for me. But in the end, when I take this and I put it into here and actually get this working, it feels amazing. It feels so good. It's probably what it feels like to write tests first and then write the code. And just knowing that you have it there. Okay, anyway. So back to Jet. I bet the sense of achievement is pretty good. It is. It is. Otherwise, I wouldn't be like, I'm so proud of this. You guys need to look at this and validate me. So TBD said, if I created an alert in this system, it would start with, all is not well. Overflow and wells. These sound like bad ideas. Only a little, especially on the arsenal. Are you tired of the word well by the end of the day? Not really. Especially since most of the time I'm writing site, even though in my head I'm saying well, but a site is pretty much a well. Ooh. Interesting. Anyway, that'll need to be fixed. But yeah, I gotta do the overflow on the div. Was it only the div? I think it's only the div. I may as well do that now while I'm here. And again, if anyone is interested in having a conversation about whatever topic, it works terribly on mobile. That's how it works on mobile. This app is not intended to be used on mobile, but it is something that I have been considering, especially since now I am doing the actual design work for it. So at the moment, like I don't have the map sketched out yet, but at the moment, as you can see, the where's layout? Did I not do that with this one? Yeah, I don't think that I did it with this one yet, but when you squish it down to mobile size, even in the actual application, I don't have it responsive, but I do have things in mind on what I would want to move around. Like this site set on the left side would probably become some kind of expander drop down type thing from the top. But then we also have the tabs for the different pages, which could then become another drop down too. So I would need to decide which ones I want to make hamburger and which ones I want to make like some kind of expander. Kind of like I have the accordions for these. So probably have this site set be an accordion with the rest of the page and then turn these into hamburger menu items. And then the main page content will just need to be squished here. Cheeky Trooper says, I've been working for 3 weeks straight on PDF reports. WKHTML to PDF, so base CSS 2. Now they've said they want the web view, so have the same the same thing has to transfer over to responsive. Doing PDF in the web is not super difficult if you use the embed HTML element. It's just a matter of whether you want to allow editing and stuff like that. Yeah, have fun with that, says TBDGamer. Right. Right. So, excuse me. And you tell me. Oh, yeah. And here, in case you have ever wanted to do this, here is an example of having a request that happens on changes, but as soon as you make a different selection, you can see that that is getting canceled, which I absolutely love about web design, web development. Started a request, it's a long running request, you can interrupt it and not have the application crash on you. Anyway, that's lame. It's small, but one of those things that I take joy in. Okay, we were gonna fix you. I think I need to make this arrow clickable too, because that's where I really want to click on. Okay, we determined it was the parent div for history info, but is it only the parent div? It is. And aren't you supposed to be changing when show history is turned on? I probably don't have a certain CSS class being applied that I'm expecting to have there. Nope. Yes. 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 Nope. Yes. All right, what's the name of this thing? It is called History Info. Do I have something that says when? Yeah, I don't have anything at all for when history is showing for history info. Okay, so what I need to do then is find my history info. Nope, this is in system while item, history info. Yeah. So when it's not collapsed, the effective date should be visible, should be overflow visible. Or the div itself should be overflow hidden. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do overflow visible by default, and when it is collapsed, then overflow hidden. Which I don't think I ever needed to be hidden, come to think of it. What was my reason for making you overflow hidden? Because I know that that's part of the thing that I need in order for this functionality to work. Yeah, I don't like that it squishes. So I think I will go ahead and hide it. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Either way, which one do I like less? Well, overflow hidden. Which is that like cover up? Is that what that would be called? Some kind of environmental protection agency cover up? Overflow well hidden. I mean, well overflow hidden. Anyway, I don't know which one of these I'll like least, because that's what I would not want to do. Do I not like it just disappearing and appearing? Or do I not like it squishing closer and then expanding? It actually looks like the font is getting bigger. So what I'm going to do instead is and collapsed. Yeah. And then the LI font size is changing size to smaller. So why isn't the effective date font size changing as well? Which should be relative font size 0.8 rems. Oh, 0.8 rems. That should be 0.8 ems. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Ops. My bad. I use rems way too much. I really need to work on using ems a lot more often. Yeah, look at this. Everything is a rem. Everything must be relative to the base font size. Oh, I have an M. What do you know? Yeah, and so you're going to be the one that controls the font size for everything inside of you. So that's why you get to be rems, and that's what I want. Okay, we're good. I'm done playing around with that. So again, happy community day, everyone. I'll keep saying it until somebody comes up with a topic that they feel like talking about. You are all very, very welcome to bring up anything you want relevant to the channel. Like a dad joke, why does Norway have barcodes on their battleships? So when they get back to port, they can Scandinavian. The dad joke API needs to stop repeating itself. Okay, is there anything fun that you would want to do in the meantime? So if you don't have a topic, do you have a suggestion for what to do? Because otherwise I'm just going to keep working on this because I love doing work. I don't know if you guys know this about me. But I love writing code. I love making things happen on screen. I don't like the part where people can just contact me. How's the Discord bot doing? Good question. Discord bot is doing terribly. Thank you for asking. But here is nope. That's not the one we want to go to. Let's get you, scoot you over here. This is the bot remake. Wow, it really has been this long since I've opened it. The last time I opened it was a month ago. That's terrible. Okay, so what we have also been trying to do is to get our bot working better. Right now it currently looks like this. It is done in Blazor, and I have a way for it to connect to the redemption listener thingy, redemption API, as well as the chat API. And I just tell it which channel to connect to. Here are the list of commands that we are using in the bot and how it should respond. And one of the things that is in here that I need to figure out what happened to it is coin flip, for example. There should be this coin flip result that we get. And instead of coin flip, the actual, heads or tails that's supposed to come back, we get the words coin flip result, which doesn't make sense because I didn't change that. So that's one thing that I want to figure out. But the other thing that I would like to do is just to completely remake the bot so that I can open source it and have it on my GitHub. So this one here should already be on GitHub as open source, but I haven't gotten very far with it yet. So it's not really worth looking at. Are you public? You are. Can I also suggest looking at this? Absolutely. 100% yes. Right, I should get to that part too. So everything that I just showed you was specific to Twitch, the Twitch bot part of it. The bot that we currently have on Discord is one that Broken Sword put together for us, and it works-ish. It's currently hosted on Azure, a whole bunch of other stuff, and I'm like, I want to improve that one. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with me. I want to improve on the one that he already has, because he does have that one available to the community. But at the same time, I kind of want to integrate it with my existing Twitch bot so that I can use things like my TextGen Web UI, local LLM for it, set up maybe the dad joke API, just because everyone has one. So why not? Or we can just get DucaBot as a Discord bot too. But yes, so discord.net, is this pretty much the same? Does this provide the same function, not functionality, what's the word I'm looking for? Is this pretty much equivalent to Twitch API, or what's it called, Twitch lib for Twitch, except that this is for Discord? It's a wrapper on the Discord API. Because if so, super easy. Documentation is here. Yeah, unofficial .NET API wrapper for Discord API. If this is your first time using it, refer to this. If you're coming from .NET, Discord.NET v2, you should read this. More experience. And that's the thing, it's like I kind of want to just continue using TwitchLib and here Discord.net, or start using Discord.net. But at the same time, because of how much changes all the time, I kind of want to just implement the API myself, the wrapper for the API. Yeah. Do you guys offer this as a NuGet package? Because that would be super nice. Yes, yes you do. Maybe. I think that's what this means, or is this like a requirement that you need NuGet 3.15? So this isn't okay, thank you. Like the thing that I would expect to see here is you should refer to the intro for tutorials. The link that they had right there that I just didn't see because I overlooked it because I'm terrible at reading. Anyway, they have everything that I want on here. I have no complaints about this site so far. Are they going to use like bad language? Is that what they're trying to tell us? You should have some decent understanding of the language you are about to use. Well, it depends how much you want. This does simple bang something commands and slash commands with drop-down select buttons. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it being simple. The thing that I really care about maintaining is the go live announcements. The thing that I would like to add is the roles thing, which I started doing. I added Carlbot and gave it access to it, but I didn't ever set it up so that like if you don't care about getting notifications when people go live, then you just don't add yourself to that role. If you don't care about the rant room, for example, like if you just don't like seeing people rant about stuff, then you just wouldn't add that role to yourself. So pretty much all of the different rooms would get their own roles that you would opt into. And I'm sure that if I wanted to write it myself, I'm sure that it would just be a bot that is on that channel, channel. Role professional ranter. Oh man, I heard that someone else was talking about wanting to make this kind of rant room type thing like we have, but they wanted to be more specific about it than I am. They used words that I would love to be able to use. So I'm going to say what words they use, and you can decide whether or not I want to use them out loud. And I'm telling you about that. But the rant room that they're talking about is intended to be a place where people can just rant about whatever, be upset, be frustrated, be annoyed, be angry, whatever, about all of the stuff that they are frustrated and annoyed about. And anyone that is going to be a part of that room is not allowed to say anything positive. So there is no positivity allowed in that room at all, pretty much. And it's like, I don't know about to that degree, but the intent is, like, the way that I word it is, the intent of the rant room is a place where you can go and feel like it's a place that you can safely just talk about something that frustrated you without feeling like someone is judging you negatively for feeling the way you do about it, for being annoyed by it, for being frustrated by it. And anyone that responds in that room, I would prefer for them to not be like, well, I have it worse than you, or you shouldn't be feeling that way, or think about it this way. Here's a better way to think about it. Instead, I would really, really, really like it to just be, you're annoyed at this thing. Someone else hears you, if that's what you're looking for. Someone else reads it if you just need a place to write it down. You know what I'm getting at. I'm waffling. Where are we going? We're going to learn to do .NET programming. I mean C# programming. Okay, Discord.net is distributed through the NuGet package manager. Most recommended way. Ooh. Are you ready to come into the room? Remember to mute yourself. I will turn on my camera so that you can see live feed in Discord, and you should be able to hear me in Discord. So I am pulling you in 5, 4, 3, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Hello. Let me turn the camera on. Mic check, please.
There we go.
There we go.
Hear me okay?
Yeah.
Cool.
With your smooth voice.
Hassle to jump in because I have to set up a different microphone.
Oh no. I don't want it to be inconvenient.
I'm technologically challenged, apparently.
I have things set up so crazily. Like, I have Firefox set up to go through a specific audio source, and the only way I can hear sound through it is if I have OBS open at the same time. And Discord too, I guess, currently.
Gotcha. Because I've the stream PC, the dev PC, the work laptop, all hooked through a mixer. The audio inputs and outputs, etc., get chaotic. So
yeah. The closest to mixer I have is an aux cable from my mobile studio, to my main
Mhm.
computer, and then an aux cable from my work laptop to my main computer,
Yeah.
and a Y splitter, so they both go into line in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the challenge is mic input to a mixer to split to multiple outputs.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It gets a little
I
messy.
I have this. I have a lav mic that I plug into whichever one I need that isn't the main computer, and then the Yeti always plugged into the main computer.
Gotcha. Well, I
Lav
actually
mic.
joined voice chat to ask a question, as you are a
Oh,
Blazor fan. So I don't know if you've seen Nick Chaps's video this week, or not this week, this from yesterday, I think it is. He did a video on a Blazor alternative called Hydro, and he says he's been holding off on it for a while. But from an opinion perspective, the reason I'm asking you is, like, do you jump on a library like this early on and adopt it on the hope that it's going to become something, or because it's only 4 months old? He does a full demo. I don't think it's quite a Blazor competitor. There's a lot more in Blazor that it does, but it does avoid signaler. And I want to know what your opinions on this one.
well, my short answer is it depends on how my body reacts to it, and this is honest. So of course you know that I've been using .NET for a million billion years, and it was MVC using .NET frame, or in .NET framework it was MVC applications. And when I started hearing about Blazor being a thing, I jumped on it immediately. I was using it in preview. I used it as soon as it came out GA officially with my work products. But that was because I had a visceral reaction to it being the technology I want to use.
Right.
I want to write code this way. Now that I am writing code this way, if there's an alternative to writing code the way that I'm already writing it, the only way that I would care about changing to it is if it actually does provide more features and I actually respond to it in a way that's like, wow, I need to write code this way.
Yeah.
So is this still .NET though? Or
Yeah, it
is
uses Razor Page. It uses Razor Pages basically, but it creates. It's got like a component structure to it. So, from coming from the Angular perspective, this makes sense to me. It does look pretty nice in terms of its behavior so far. For a 4-month-old project, it seems to be quite far along. But it's like it's another one of those things, right? When you go in to make an application, and I might actually make a water drink water UI using this just to demonstrate it. But it's just like how long do you wait before it's mature enough? Do you wait for big companies to take the leap? Are they watching for the same thing? Are they watching for how many people are picking it up? Because I've always said that I base my decision as to what technology stack I'm going to use based upon the job market out there, right? So I'm not going to move Liquid Sky to this. Obviously, I'm not like, hey, I'm going to do this, but it might be something worth experimenting with water drink water, right? Where because it's for that purpose, for demonstrating, hey, you could use the different UI technologies to communicate with the API. It's fine. Well, yeah, just different opinions are good to collect, you know.
So for me, if Blazor wasn't already a thing and this was just coming out, I would be learning everything that I can about it and be like, okay, you're telling me I can use C# instead of writing JavaScript. That sounds amazing. But we have that now. So right now it's not super hype for me. And as far as how long I would wait for something like this, because of where we are currently, I would wait until it is solid, people are using it. But when Blazor came out, I was using it before it was widely adopted, even by organizations. But I had the freedom to choose what technology to use on the applications I was developing. So it was safe for me.
It's kind of a chicken and egg, right? With stuff like this, like you're waiting for people to pick it up and use it, but you're one of the people waiting to see if other people pick it up and use it. If everyone takes that same attitude, it never gets picked up and the project dies, right? So it's got to get some energy behind it. A lot of the comments in his video are pretty much similar. Some people like this isn't even like Blazor, just because it's a JS interop layer, I suppose. But it's it's
as opposed to a whole rendering engine in .NET that just gets loaded via WASM.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, from my perspective, this looks more friendly from the Angular side of things, where I have that separation of code and UI. It seems like a natural thing. And it's good to see. I think it's telling that Blazor's hit the point where they're trying to people are trying to build actual alternatives to it. It's like the React and Angular and Vue and Svelte and all the others that come along, right?
So I am curious about that. You do tend to say, and I'm not trying to nitpick your words, promise. You do tend to say that you like the code separation, the UI and code separation in Angular, for example. Can you tell me about how that code separation looks in an Angular project and what it is in Blazor that you don't like?
So Angular does have the separate files. I know that Blazor does have the code behind files that weren't there in the initial that I remember seeing.
I mean, they were just hard to do.
A lot of demonstrations revolve around putting all the code, and maybe it's because of the demos that I've seen of Blazor, right? I get that it's easier to demonstrate with the code and the markup all in place. You put it all in the code block and everything lives there, but it just becomes very messy, especially having come from, I've done PHP and I'm working in that world now, right? That and ASP, classic ASP stuff, and all those sorts of worlds where it mixes and it gets very hard to separate out what is logic and what is Vue. So maybe it's the demonstrations, maybe it's that I haven't established a good pattern for myself to be able to break that up, where because there you've got a Vue, you've got a UL, and you've got the .where, so the .NET code is merged straight up into the UI. There's no specific syntax for it. Like in Angular, you do still have, although they've introduced in Angular 17 and now I think it's becoming more common, if and for each as actual similar to Blazor there. They've actually introduced syntax now.
How would you represent this then if you have a list of items that you want to output? Like imagine this was a component. And this was just one item that would render as this square here. Even though it's not that one, but let's say it is. Well, then how would you get a collection to output as multiple LIs in Angular?
So the templating stuff isn't too, especially now the way it is. The templating wouldn't look different. The only thing I'd change there would be the filtering on the change details. So the change details would be provided from the back end. And so that where wouldn't exist because it's logic in the front end. That's the only real complaint I have for that.
So let's do that real quick. Let's just see what that looks like. Private enum. Will change detail. Will changes. No empty from or something. I don't know what else to call it. So you would still prefer it to look something like this in order to get rid of that where clause?
Yeah, because the template is rendering the data and only the data. It doesn't have behavioral aspects to it, or logical aspects, rather.
Okay. And so anything like that, like this effective date for this particular row, again, this should be a component. It should be broken down so that this thing is a component.
And in Angular, you can still do the same thing. You could make it a component that accepts the parameter, and it would render that component. You can still componentize it, so the overall display doesn't look too much different. It's just the display should only be dependent upon the data. It shouldn't have any manipulation. I mean, there's some areas where you do have some manipulation because it's a display concern, such as like to date or date format stuff that is best represented on that templating, but there's no actual behavioral stuff in there. And I kind of like that separation. From my perspective, it's easier if I can say, okay, well, how I get the data is not the same place, or how I decide what data I'm showing, etc., is not the same place as where I'm displaying the data. That's the separation I have there. And code behind does make that easier. And I see that the dependency injection stuff's getting updated in .NET 9, which makes this, you don't have to have the silly inject things, so you can do constructor injection again.
Wait, in the code behind files? That sounds awesome.
Yeah, they're putting dependency injection in .NET 9. So
yeah, I don't mind the syntax myself, but yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, being able to dependency inject them again would be nice. Because again, it just is in that readability, because you end up with all these dependencies at the top and all the attributes everywhere. You've got it in quite a nice way. I like the attribute and then the property on the same line. It does work well that way.
Yeah, again, these are things that I've definitely found out are just like, this is more visually appealing to me, and I'm really the only maintainer of this code, so that's all that matters at the moment.
Yeah. So I mean, it's I think my biggest gripes coming with Blazor is the way that it's matured, and the way that they've supported it, and the way that the demonstrations all show like DB context right up in the front end. A lot of the samples suffer the same thing, and I've worked with enough developers through the years to feel that is a dangerous thing to demonstrate, because they'll follow that pattern.
It will.
I'm looking at it in the code base right now, right? We've just been, me and a colleague have just been going through some code, and I'm like, why did you do this? It's like, I didn't do this one. And basically the method had been called get static thing, so that they could create a static version of an instance method, or vice versa.
Or an instance version of a static.
Yeah. But it turns out a year earlier, someone had written the same method, but because they hadn't followed the names, they just dumped more code in there. So they repeated the effort in two places in the same code file. That code file is 8,000 lines. And again, it's because people don't get shown how to write good patterns. They don't get to follow good patterns. They don't get to follow good practices. And I think that's the dangerous thing of documenting it the way that it's documented right now, is because it demonstrates, just whack your database right up in the front end. It's fine. Yeah. And because, again, that mental separation of Blazor being, is it server? Is it client? Where is it? Because it's all C#. Right. Well, that breaks my brain a little bit, because at least with Angular, I can still know when I'm on when I'm on the client and the server.
Right.
But again, that's a client framework right now. If I went to SSR stuff, that might be a little bit more difficult. But that's the gripe. It's teaching developers bad practice, and most people are trying to learn how to use these frameworks, and they'll follow the patterns that are set out by Microsoft. And Microsoft does not, or not that I've seen, promote code behind files.
It's magic. Don't ruin my magic. But no, I absolutely agree with that. And I have seen other people that show great patterns. That's why I always talk about Patrick God, for example. He's a great person to learn from, because the way he structures his code, it's very similar to the way that I do. But when I was starting out, I was absolutely doing things like, here's my code block and here is my HTTP request, because it was always Blazor WASM for me.
Yeah.
But here's my HTTP client being injected directly into the code block in my .razor file. And the injects always happened at the top, which is also hard for maintenance, in my opinion. Yes. So I never put them up here anymore.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's specific. Because again, you've got to go to the top to understand what's used below. You're jumping around the code file.
But then, like, my HTTP client would be injected here, and I would do the API calls from in here, as opposed to having a service that is do all of my requests however you do it, because it's really hard to rewrite the code blocks and the code behind for testing, especially when dependency injection is involved.
Yeah.
So it is as you say. And even this is too much logic for me in my code behind files, but I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, but and again, but that separation for someone who is, you know, analyzing the style, analyzing the code, that's still a challenge. But someone who isn't, someone who's just trying to get a job done, it risks that problem, and I see it so much that I really think, you know, developers should be taught about not just how to get code out there, but how to
A
write
good way
good,
to
effective
structure it.
code earlier.
Right. Definitely. So
Yeah,
Dugasoft is
like,
saying that he would rather learn how to do it right the first time. And I'm like,
yep.
I still have some bad practices that are sticking with me that I'm trying to grow out of, but oh, especially when deadlines are involved. You're like, I just need this to get out there.
That's the biggest measure, right? That's
Oh,
how does, and then I think that's always my argument for why you should write cleaner code in the first place, is because when those times come along, it shouldn't be a chore to have to think about how to do it the right way, and
right.
it's so often is a chore to do it the right way. That shouldn't be the case.
Yes. So very true. Okay. I still kind of want to keep exploring what about Blazor could make it something you would be more interested in using to develop with. And if there isn't anything, then that is also completely valid. So we know about the code organization and their tutorials being teaching us bad practices pretty much. But what else? Can you think of anything else that would make you want to use Blazor?
That would make me want to use Blazor.
Yeah.
I don't know if again, like with Water Drink Water, we got the WASM, the WASM version. I don't think there's any benefit over either or there. I think that's a challenge as well. When I came up against, what was it? I pulled Mud Blazor in maybe, or yeah, it might have been Mud Blazor, and it started complaining to me about interactivity modes and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I didn't get my head wrapped around that. And maybe if I did more server-side rendering stuff, maybe if I'd done more of that, that might make more sense.
In the beginning, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's just something I need to study. So I think that's a flaw on my side rather than particularly Blazor's side.
But again, is it in a way where like you hear this term rendering mode or interactive mode and you're just like, why would I want to deal with that? Why can't it just be one thing? I write code and it shows up on the screen.
Pretty much,
Is that a
yeah.
turnoff for you pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say it is, because it's, I don't want that extra cognitive effort to have to know what I'm doing there. To me, it's like I have a machine away from me. It sends me things. I display it on a screen, right?
Right.
To me, it's that simplistic. I'm transferring data to myself. Yes, I understand we've gone to this model of the client does a lot more, right?
Right.
I'm building an
Where
Angular
we
application
offload
that does a
everything.
lot of stuff, right? But it's so that's not a challenge. It's just more, and I think, to be honest, the actual separation of languages helps me get my head around that more. Not having C#, not blurring those concepts, actually probably assists me a little bit. So having to be in TypeScript, it allows me to mentally separate. Oh, I'm in the client.
Right.
I'm in the server. The lines get blurred, and again, coming back to those demos, right? If those, I've got to establish good patterns for myself, right, to be able to write better Blazor, right? So I don't think I write good good idiomatic Blazor code because I don't know what good idiomatic Blazor code really looks like yet.
Right.
You know, with Angular, I'm still learning more about things like the stores and stuff, right? So the state stores or NGRX stuff. So I'm using signal stores as part of the Liquid Sky, right? And they basically allow me to disconnect the back end from the front end, the true back end from the true front end, in that the actual display components are wired up to the store. How I get the data there is not their concern. It's not even a service concern to them. It's just a store that has the right calls,
That
so I
has
can
data,
change.
yeah.
I can test these things independently. I can actually test my UI components separate from my actual API calls, etc. It gives me that better separation. What do those patterns look like in Blazor? How do I, because I do want that sort of behavior. It's not just local storage either. It's more
Right.
than that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Gotcha.
So how do I adapt? How do I adapt to those patterns, right? Because there
Yeah,
is a
you
great
just
benefit in
download the Blazor local storage from
that.
I can't remember his name, and then you just set that up.
Yeah. So do those patterns exist? I don't know, right? And do I
Right.
want to spend the time going off and doing? So for me, when it came to Liquid Sky, it was like, okay, I've got a choice. Do I learn how to do some of this stuff in Blazor now, or do I go with Angular, where I am a little bit more comfortable? Yes, I'm still having to pick up concepts, but I am a little bit more comfortable on the basics, the layout, the structuring, etc. And again, I've still got to get better at my Angular organization, because it's client side, it's way more chaotic than anything server side, in my opinion. So maybe it's just because of the language separation. Like you said before, services, you start to model the client side like you would a server application. So do I put commands and
Right.
queries and stuff in there? Do I put some form of message bus or local messaging in place to disconnect? Like if I use a mediator pattern, does that work on the client side in Blazor? Well, it would. There's no reason you can't, right? You could have a handler in theory. So your code there, your code behind your logic there could, if it's doing queries and stuff, it could actually just send a command to get a query and get a result the same way the server does, and then disconnect that. And you could have handlers. So what patterns should you follow? How do you design that? And I think when you get into the world where it's all C#, it gets a bit confusing. So maybe one day I'll try it. Maybe one day I'll try and be a bit more adventurous with Blazor.
Glad that you're willing to try it, but that also begs the question: what about the other way, using JavaScript as your backend language?
Using JavaScript as a backend.
Yeah. Node Express.
I've done very little dabbling with that.
But I mean, because of your desire to have like language separation, where JavaScript is or TypeScript is your mental indicator that you're working in the front end, and some other language is your back end stuff.
Right.
I assume that extends into using JavaScript for your back end as well.
Yeah, I suppose it could. I mean, if I was writing a PHP API or whatever, yeah, I could do the same thing, right? And actually, to be honest, that would not be something I'd be totally against with my work stuff, because being able to rebuild the UI completely separate from the actual markup would be a good idea. Because again, PHP has that old style blur of a PHP file. When are you server? When are you client? So yeah,
I think you keep triggering Dukasoff though. He's gotten really quiet, and you keep saying PHP, and he gets quieter and quieter.
Yeah, PHP. I again, if you look at the way PHP has evolved as well,
which I know nothing about what its current state is. I used it once.
So if you look at PHP 8 in its current form, it looks like Java and C# had a baby. It's got JIT now. It's got all sorts of optimizations. It's got the type system's much better and stronger. Class definitions are more clearly defined, and the language again looks very different to the language that we're using in the day to day. Yeah, yeah. I was writing PHP 5 stuff back in 2012.
Yeah, my senior project was PHP.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing PHP for longer than I've done C#. I mean, I've known about PHP. I haven't been doing it. I stopped about 10 years ago. Yeah, the language has evolved quite drastically, including generics coming soon as well. They're finally introducing generics.
Wow.
But there's some weird syntax stuff.
I don't think it's PHP, more like WordPress. Wish I could easily convert our sites to Blazor.
WordPress is moving away from PHP as well.
Oh, interesting.
Most of it's now written on the client side. It's more.
I'm gonna have to break that link in my head.
Yeah, WordPress is pretty much PHP. It's the eponymous. Is that the right word? It's kind of like inextricably linked.
Yeah,
PHP and WordPress, but yeah, they
that's
are
a big
breaking
word.
that. That's it. Make sure that I'm right. What I mean, eponymous. Of or relating to or constituting an eponym, named after something or deriving. Yeah.
Mm. Eponymous. O-P. I wouldn't be able
I
to
might be
spell
using
it.
it wrong, but yeah, the idea was there.
I know what
Yeah.
you meant. We all know what you meant.
But yeah, they are kind of shared in people's psyches, I suppose. So,
Absolutely.
but,
Definitely mine.
yeah, but, yeah. PHP is evolved. Not that I would pick it for a new project these days, if I had the choice.
Oh man.
There's just so much. There's so much wishy-washiness to it. Like TypeScript's hard enough. I mean, JavaScript is obviously harder, but TypeScript doesn't. TypeScript gives you the chance to be a little bit more strict, but doesn't enforce it. And I think even my TypeScript code, I like using the word public. I like to be explicit, but the idiomatic TypeScript is to not put public, which I dislike, being that Anders Hejlsberg created TypeScript after doing C#. So why not at least allow someone, you created it so that you can make C# developers more comfortable with the client side.
Right.
Why not support better typing, etc.
Yeah. And like one of the things that I've learned while doing a little bit of TypeScript, not too much, is you can cheese. Yeah, you can cheese TypeScript pretty easily.
Yep.
To still kind of break strongly typed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I use that all the time because I actually, when I'm saving an object into my store, I rebuild the data. I don't have an instance of that object. So what I do is I cast an anonymous object as the object type that I want to insert.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm breaking the strongly type. I'm just saying, oh, by the way, this box is into this, so you'll be fine.
Trust me, they're the same shape.
Yeah, yeah,
and size.
It's challenging doing that stuff. But TypeScript is, I mean, I'm getting more comfortable with TypeScript. I just don't think I organize the code well. I think that's a general argument.
Gilgamesh.
It's hard to follow.
Gilgamesh is here. What are NuGet packages exactly? Would you like to answer this one?
NuGet packages, they are like libraries, kind of. I mean, they're like, if you've used Node, they're Node packages, they're sets of behavior, and you can package them up and reuse them. They can include DLLs, they can include EXEs, they can include all sorts of stuff that's related to that's associated. Pretty much most of the Microsoft stuff is NuGet packages. If you look at, well, you got it up on screen there, right? You've got package references.
Yep.
So adding dependency injection is an actual NuGet package. So it's adding the behavior, extending the behavior of the core framework.
And hello, Zulius. Long time no see to you too. I hope you've been well. So I want to add on to what TBD just said. And if you guys don't know TBD, definitely check him out. For those of you that just came in, and if you've never, ever seen him, you really should. And follow. But to tag on to what he said, everything he said, plus, think of them as, or I guess this is more like a restating what he said. Think of them as like zip files that have whatever content you want in there. You add them to your project, and now you have access to all of the contents of that zip file, all of the resources, including DLL references and stuff. So you can use code from it. Stuff.
They're an absolute pain to manage if you're building them internally as part of a team. If they're constantly changing, it becomes a management challenge.
Yeah. It depends on, like, when I think of what should be a NuGet package in an organization that I'm in, then it's code that is stable first and doesn't change often. So until the point that it becomes stable, it's a project reference.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would treat it. Like if we plan on continuing to develop it and it's going to change very often, let's keep it as a project reference until we get a nice stable version and then create a NuGet out of that stable version. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
I will say, I'll give you an example of a really challenging one. So when we're using something like Kafka, you have shared events, right? There's a few ways of going at it. You can actually use Kafka schema to kind of produce the current version of the schema, and then different libraries can pick it up and kind of create your model objects for you. And you can build a project-specific version of a library. Another way of doing it is to create a events package or library that contains all the shared events across the organization.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got 2 or 3 different applications that are completely separate repositories that need to get the current events, you don't want everyone to be committing to the same files, right? So you share the NuGet package and you make it a .NET standard library, and then that NuGet package becomes a nightmare to manage when different people producing different events into it from different projects.
Oh yes.
That becomes challenging.
So before I left Sagetti, before I left the client that they were with, the client was wanting to consolidate all of the diagnostic stuff across the entire organization, of which our team only did hardware diagnostics. And they wanted that to be pretty much in one consolidated package and place that every other team would have access to. And so there would be many, many teams contributing to this. So I can imagine that getting to the point that you're talking about.
Yeah, if everyone's got a reason to change it, you've got some challenges.
Mm. Gilgamesh was asking, oh, okay, in my project, they changed NuGet feed from 200 to 1,000 results. I don't know if it affects my service or not. So if you're talking about public-facing services or stuff that you're shipping out to clients, your NuGet feed size won't affect anything. Because when you package and publish, it takes whatever is in that NuGet feed or NuGet reference that you have and packages it with your application that ships. It's not always going back to your feed. Anything to add to that? Did I say it right?
Yes, you're fine. Yeah. I'm sorry if I tried to read the chat. It's the instinctive.
Oh no, please do.
Streamer mode. I'm sat here with a microphone in front of me. Right? I'm looking at.
It chat. Feels more interactive if you end up reading chat anyway. Definitely prefer that. I'm trying to ask pointed questions that might be a little difficult for you to answer though sometimes.
No worries.
Because I like the discussion about like why not use X technology.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of having an engaged team as well. If you're working in an organization, you have a team that is actively engaged in technology, not just I'm doing my job, but they care about what technologies are there. They care about improving the product. It's good to have these sorts of conversations because you can challenge. And everyone has a different understanding. Everyone has a different experience of things. So it's not like there's only one way of doing everything.
I can't put my feet up high enough. Oh, I'm going to show Dickus off my NuGet feet. I'm floating now.
Oh,
little higher. Yeah. I'm wearing Christmas socks.
That just became a different kind of stream.
I'm good at that. So it's like almost always freezing down here, so I have a blanket that I wrap around my waist. Gotcha. But lately, circumstances made it to where I now have really warm Christmas socks that I wear pretty much all the time while I'm down here.
Nice.
It's so comfortable. I only care about comfort. That's all. I don't care what it looks like. If it's comfortable, for the most part.
Yeah. Working from home as well. Some days I'm like, okay, I'm not getting changed this morning.
Oh yeah, I'm always in my
stay
pajama
bedclothes.
pants.
Yeah. Yeah. It only gets embarrassing if I have to walk the dogs out.
Oh yeah, I forgot that you got laid off, Julius. But you're back in the places that you feel comfortable. Well, welcome back. Glad to see you. You're always welcome here. Oh, I'm out of breath now. I don't know if I can do the rest of the stream. I stood on a chair.
Speaking of job stuff, I started looking
Oh yeah.
more at actual roles this week, and I am feeling like I missed, because I haven't actually actively looked for a job since 2014. So I've missed a big period, and a lot of the jobs I'm looking at, like cloud, you must know how to do
Everything is
distributed
cloud.
systems with AWS, Amazon, etc. And it's putting me off. It's like making me scared. And then I signed up for LinkedIn. Well, I didn't sign up. I did the month trial LinkedIn Premium just to see what it would do, what it would kind of give. And it also tells you the percentage of applicants with degrees, etc. And that made my confidence drop even further, because it's like,
that's not
65% of applicants, 65% of these applicants have a master's or a bachelor's degree. And I'm like,
oh my god.
So you're telling me, although this morning it did tell me 101% of candidates have degrees.
101%.
Yeah, so that's pretty challenging to look at that and feel that moment of dread of, I've gotten a lot of experience, but that experience isn't worth much if they're looking for cloud, because I don't have the cloud experience, and that's not something I can just go and make up overnight, right?
Right.
So,
oh man,
that's quite the confidence kick.
Yeah. I mean, like, this is easy for me to say and probably just doesn't make sense for me to keep referring people to, but working for a consulting firm, you get a lot of opportunity. And I will still say that something like Sagetti is good for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So if you are ever interested in a referral for Sagetti, I can get you in contact with a recruiter there.
Right.
It is an overall good experience and has lots of opportunity.
I tried applying to a consulting job years ago. Who was that with? Microsoft had one that they use a lot of back then. But I remember going to New York for the day. I went into the city and had to go into this building and interview. And because they have such a focus on the skill set, I just didn't blend. They never called me back at all. They didn't even call me to tell me no. They just ignored me. And
well, I would say that that's still a little bit better than the thing that happened to me, which is I applied for Google, and then 6 years later, they called me and said, let's do an interview. And then I just felt like I completely failed at life in general.
The worst interview experience I've ever had. I did an interview for a large company, and they made me do a programming test. And it was a silly. Now, bearing in mind, at this point, I've been a developer for, at that point, like 10 years, 11 years, right? Like, do this simple algorithm. Record your screen. You're not allowed to use Google.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. So I took a shot at it. I'm not a big algorithmic guy. I don't do a lot of the code kata stuff, because it's just, that's not a skill set I need to keep sharp necessarily. And I don't think I did great on it. I think I did it, but I was like bumming and ahhing and thinking about it.
Yeah, and I ran into this. Oh, go ahead. Sorry,
they never called me back. And then almost a year later, they did actually ask me for my feedback on the interview process, and I think I cursed at them. I called it a BS situation, that was totally unrealistic, that no developer is going to sit in a box if they need to develop software and not have access to any resources.
Right.
So that was a waste of my time, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not holding back. They want to interview me. And almost a year later, I just got the offer for the previous job I worked at. And they were like, oh, could you come back in and have a second interview? We're interested in talking to you. I'm like, no, I don't want to work for you. It's like, you're now scraping the barrel. Are you looking for old interviews that went differently? I'm like, nah, forget
Yeah.
it. But I was like, that's the first time I've ever gone like full on like customer feedback with an organization like
Oh, I
that.
do that a lot.
Well, it has. I'm good at giving. Like, I'm really good at writing scathing letters to companies when I have issues with them. I've just never done it to an organization before. I was like, I don't care if I burn a bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
Your hiring
Like in that
practices,
case.
rubbish.
And that was one of the main things that got me about the Google interview. And it's that you're going to quiz me on these specific scenarios or these things that you want me to remake from scratch that already exist and are already done super well. But I get
Yeah.
it. I understand what they're trying to do as far as testing your problem solving skills and seeing if you can be creative in your understanding of things. But what it ends up being is, did you memorize the answer to this type of question?
Yeah.
And you're
I don't
just
want someone
testing
who can
me.
memorize. I don't
Yeah.
want someone who can memorize. I want someone who can actually think. It's
Mm.
why I prefer, and I don't get the opportunity to do it very often. I like when I'm doing an interview, I like to I might set a programming challenge ahead of time to give the candidate, so that when they come in, we can talk over what they did, and we can actually talk about why did you use this method, why use this,
Yeah.
and it's not aimed at being a test of their skill; it's being a test of their conversation about the code
Right.
when they come
Mhm.
in. That's my preferred style there.
Yeah.
I
And
just think it's a waste
again,
of time.
same thing with these skill tests. So like we'll give you this algorithm, this scenario that is, you identify it's a traveling salesman scenario. Can you implement the traveling salesman algorithm knowing that this is the traveling salesman scenario? So part one of that is, can you recognize patterns, things that have already been solved? Two,
Yeah.
do you know how they've been solved before? Three, if you don't, can you come up with some kind of solution, or at least look like you're going in a direction that has valid considerations? And like, when you do it that way, that's the naive way that everyone starts off doing it. What if I told you this piece of information? Then what would you do with that? And I kind of like that, but I also am like, this is not how the job would go.
Yeah.
This kind of critical thinking isn't necessarily the kind of critical thinking I would be using on the job.
No. No. But it's interviewing is challenging, and understanding if you can work with someone is really difficult especially in a remote interview. Now I've gone through that experience as well. Like I've never met the people I work with. I converse with them over a screen every day. That's it.
Right.
The remote interview process was definitely different, and because they weren't hiring me as a developer, I got by on some. Can I answer basic knowledge about software development? Right, but it's also why I've added my stream to my resume stuff. I'm like, you know what? If you want to see that I can do something, watch my stream. And I'm going to point if recruiters ask, I'm going to say, you can give them the stream link, right? It demonstrates what I can actually do. I
Yeah.
can talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it. I can work within that environment. I can actually, you know, you know, to some form mentor as well,
Ooh,
which is a big part
I
of what
have a
happens.
devil's advocate thing to say against that.
Go ahead.
So, another thing to consider, and I
Mhm.
don't necessarily believe this, but since I'm saying it out loud and thinking about it, it's possible I do. Another thing that you are being tested on during interviews is, can you operate within the established system? So, there are
Right.
rules that are happening. How do you respond to being constrained by these rules that don't make any sense. The client has expectations and things that just don't make any sense. How do you respond to that?
Gotcha.
I'm trying to read Zulius's first comment, but we had a spammer for a second. He said something up here. I don't get why recruiters give you these completely unrealistic. Oh yeah, that's why I was responding to that one. These unrealistic test scenarios, like no Googling allowed. Whoever works like that. Yeah, and I don't like if I'm doing something that even remotely looks like that when I'm interviewing people. It's with the intent of let's just talk about this. You don't have to come up with the right answer, but I will say that up front. It's like I'm not looking for the right answer. I'm expecting you to show me how you would approach this problem that you don't necessarily have the existing knowledge of or don't have access to resources to figure out. Give a challenge to work through before the interview is what my first programming boss did to me when I first decided to look for a career in dev after being a hobbyist coder for 2 decades. Simple to do app, but in PHP.
Reserve the comment.
I will not incriminate myself.
Oh, wow.
Mojo! Yeah, meetings, man. Maybe one day, like right now, I'm really enjoying my Tuesdays and Thursdays. I haven't added Tuesdays and Thursdays to my schedule yet, which I think I still might, but I've been using the 2 hours that I would be streaming to do music. And man, I love music. Do music. What even does that mean? There was something that you just said. What did you just said?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I just read the comments when just posting in your Discord.
Oh.
About being banned.
Yeah, it was Freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom DAO. And I don't know if you guys actually saw his messages, but Dugasoft banned him because he was, or them, because they were reposting over and over and over and over.
Right.
But they were already banned in Irish John's stream, and we have shared ban list. So I'm sure if it was banned on his stream, it was for a reason.
And then now they're trying to mess with your Discord.
How's the music being done? All of the above. Right now, it is all digital. Because I'm in learning phase, I'm still like not confident in saying this out loud because I don't want it to be taken the wrong way, but you're going to take it however you take it. I've been starting off with putting a prompt into Suno and getting a song back, finding one that I actually like, and then pulling it into Fruity Loops, for example, this one, and then trying to arrange it myself using the plugins, instruments, effects, all of that stuff in Fruity Loops. Fruity Loops. And once it loads, and my whole goal behind doing it this way is pretty much learning music composition as it relates to the style of music that I'm wanting to write, and arrangement and mixing and all of that stuff. And if I have something to go off of, I mean, I've already mentioned that as long as I have a good UI design, then I can implement it. Same thing here. If I have a good bass song to start with, then I can write it. I can instrument it myself. But then the next thing that I want to do with this is perform it myself. So I have a bass guitar, an electric guitar, piano, keyboard, and a drum rocker. So I want to perform them and sing them myself and do vocal processing and all the stuff, all the things. I've got a MIDI keyboard and a drum machine that's been guiding. That's mine too. Wanting more equipment fixed. So this keyboard though is really old. So if you do have something like a, well, what brand is it? I won't even drop brands. This is just a plain old Yamaha Walmart or PX bought keyboard from 92, 93. That still has MIDI out. But yeah. This has been fun. This looks like it says Druck. And if I push play, you won't be able to hear anything. Oh no. It's a control MIDI. Oh, and a machine micro. Oh, what exactly are you responding to? Because I didn't read that one. I started talking about music and I skipped his actual on-topic conversation.
I want to talk over the top of the music conversation. I have no idea about music.
No, we're going back to your conversation. I want you to lead. You guys get the lead back. Sorry. My bad. Zulius said, but my approach to a challenging problem would always be to first get an understanding by internet research, which doesn't mean Stack Overflow copy pasta. That comes once I understand how to rate the Stack Overflow code I find. And then you responded with Stack Overflow.
You just copy and paste the answers until you find the right one. Right?
Obviously.
Just go down the list and find the one that now applies. I think that's where AI is definitely, like, I used Gemini yesterday to aid in my problem solving of the entity framework challenge. The challenge is finding the right question with AI stuff. And I do like it because it does mean you actually have to understand what you're asking to get the right answer out. It's not as, like with Stack Overflow, you can land on something and then just like, oh, well, is that the answer? I don't know if that's the answer. I'll go off and try these things. Gemini actually gave me enough back that it prompted me to look deeper at the actual code and think more about what the solution was.
Yeah, again, using AI as just another tool. I really advocate for that. There are a lot of people that just won't use AI because of ethical reasons, or people that will use AI as just a copy pasta machine, and it's like go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if you remember what I was actually struggling with yesterday.
I do-ish.
So I had
the out of
updated
sync,
the data,
not cached stuff.
Yeah, so I'd updated the data in one area. I deleted records, but then I had a service running that picks up the records and says, "Hey, now publish them." But it was pulling the wrong data, and it turns out, and I've got pooled DB context turned on, and the question I asked was, "Does Entity Framework cache data by default?" And it kind of gave me something, and it prompted me.
If I had heard that part though, if I heard you say pooled Entity Framework context, I would have been able to help.
Well, I didn't think about it. I didn't think about that behavior, but what it does is that context actually holds on. The weird thing was, it didn't cache the data. If I added something, it changed it. It triggered a change. A delete doesn't trigger a change in it, so it merged the two data sets. So that's why the behavior didn't seem to make sense to me, because it was as if it was making a decision about the data it should produce. So if I removed a record, it would keep that record. If I added a record, it would know that the data's been added to and then add that extra record, like it had done a merge at the SQL level. So the problem was that I needed to turn off tracking on the queries that I needed for integration.
Right.
But going through the AI, I was able to ask questions, see the answers it gave me, which prompted me to ask better, more pointed questions to get down to that answer. And it kind of helped me explore in my own way, at my own pace, with my own words.
That's cool.
Right?
That's really cool.
And that's a benefit.
Definitely. Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to come up with a solution for it. I just would have known that if you have different instances of DB contexts, that they are going to be holding on to the data that they have when they were created, essentially. And so I don't know the full picture of what it looks like when you make an update to one context and then you're using the other context pretty much in tandem. So even if you save over here first, this context is still not updated, kind of thing. Yeah. I wouldn't have been, I still can't even start to think about how you fix that. And so you said that you just turned off tracking for your queries?
So yeah, I'm using specifications, right? So I just basically added an as no tracking on the query that I pull the data from there, and that makes it so the answer that came back from Gemini was basically, here's your options, and one of them was turn off tracking. And I'm like, oh, hold on, why would tracking matter? So then I looked at more, the DB context pool, and it doesn't let go of it. So it just kind of keeps a local cache of that data. Again, it still doesn't explain the remove versus add being different behavior. But I'm like, oh, that would make sense though, because now and it is true in the integration, I don't ever want any cache results. The integration should pull exactly what's in the database at that point. So it's okay. So I went into the specification and said added no tracking to those queries.
Yeah, and this is one of those cases where I didn't know what the major benefit of as no tracking was. I just knew that it was good practice for any of your read-only queries to use as no tracking. You get a performance boost, you get less overhead, less resource overhead, and all of that stuff. But yeah, that being the thing that would keep two contexts from being in sync, where if you've queried that table, then with tracking, then you're still keeping the
but
contents.
My understanding of the pool DB context is basically the same way as a pool DB connection, is that it's just not releasing them constantly. So you're not taking that hit of establishing the full connection and the context, loading the context up, and because obviously when a context starts, it's not just here's a DB connection and we're adapting it. It actually pulls. It does actually pull information about SQL Server and stuff, so it knows what version of the stuff it's using. That's why you can't mix and mingle SQL Server frameworks within a DB context. I still think you can't do that. You definitely couldn't originally.
I still think it's true.
I think you don't incur that cost.
Yeah, so. I mean, like I want to keep going because this is all I love this stuff. I do have like two database contexts for two different databases that I do use together, but I can't like combine the queries. Essentially, I have to query one, materialize it, and then do a join from link to entities to link to objects. Kind of thing. Zulia said, "Oh yeah, that I can't read. That was a WTF moment a bit ago. I wanted to update an app from .NET 6 to 8, and my EF core started to do red squiggle. My use of single. Oh, thank you for saying that. I have one more thing to say to you before I have you do your stand-up, because it's almost the end of the stream. Long-term DB context instance, because that will raise condition dummy. I mean, it worked for a few days at a time in the .NET 6 version, but yeah, swapped it for a pooled context, and now .NET 8 is happy again. Yeah, that's so cool. You also mentioned on your stream this morning, and I wasn't fully listening. It could have been yesterday's stream too, but you were using singular default for a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I will submit to you evidence A. Using first or default, even though it doesn't make sense as far as that there's only supposed to be one record with this ID, using singular default is less performant than using first or default, because singular default needs to make sure that there is only one instance.
Yes.
Or one record with that criteria. And first or default just says, all right, give me the first one back. Once I find it, terminate the query, return the object. So if you do run into a situation where your database table is massive and you're starting to get performance hits, just switch to first or default, unless you absolutely have to ensure that you're getting the one unique value back. And
that's funny. That's funny that you say that, because going back to that conversation earlier about the documentation, right? Considering my dislike of actually reading the manual, That's why I have an emote for that, right? I don't go to the manual first. I normally start tinkering around with stuff. But then I go looking at examples and I'm thinking back, and I just went and checked as you were talking then, because I do know that the single default is less efficient because it gets all the records and then says, oh, is there only one where it first bails out sooner? So there's a definite performance improvement there. I just went back and tested, and first to default does exist in the ADAL specification framework. So I now need to go through and replace all my single defaults. Because single to me is documented. It's documenting an expected
Yeah,
behavior.
exactly.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's why I don't like first or single default. Right?
Yeah.
I get there's a difference. It makes it hard to write it that way. But I've looked at examples and seen single default and thought, oh yeah, I'll just mimic that behavior. And I've done it all the way through, and I see it now.
And true Zulius. So Zulius has another statement about using .any or any async. However, also consider that if you're using .any and then following it up with an actual query on that same iQueryable, then it's not as performant either, because now you're performing the query twice. Even though .any is fast, it's still adding another database bound query.
But it should be a little. It should translate to a select count, yes, rather than a select fields. So it does incur less of a data transfer cost.
Yes.
So it is a little bit more efficient if you just need it.
Right. Instead of just doing the query and then saying, did we get anything back? But that, in most cases that I've encountered so far, is that if you do use, or if you have a .any followed by an actual query, .select, .toList or whatever, that it's better if you just materialize it instead of .any first.
So, just, I mean, I know you've got to finish, but
no, go ahead.
So back in 2012, I was asked to write a full CMS, a full sales pipeline package for the company I was working for, and I built it from scratch. And one of the pieces was dynamic reporting. So I had to write all sorts of filters and stuff. So I got very much into writing link. And there's actually a repository on my GitHub called Roast Potato, which is basically taking strings and translating them to link statements so they can be executed as just link against the collection.
Yes. I needed that like 3 years ago. Where was it?
But so it got me very fascinated in it. So I got to use what's the tool? There's a tool by the guy that created NoSQL DB, not Mongo, RavenDB, Ian Rayan. Mm-hmm. He created a tool for SQL analysis of entity framework stuff, and it did help back then with analyzing. Oh, I'm actually dropping the context. I'm losing the connections. I'm doing n+1 queries, etc. He did a lot of great analysis. So I got really into that back then, and I haven't been able to do it for a couple of years. I'm hoping that this project is so helpful.
I needed that when I was converting these apps over for the first time, because they were just using a regular SQL connection directly from Java, a SQL client type thing. And so I was just converting them over, and I was using system.data.sql client, not even Microsoft.data.sql client, to do the queries, to translate them over. And then I learned about Entity Framework. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. And then I was, of course, doing database first and getting the EDFM or whatever those models were called.
Anyway, EDMX models.
EDMX, thank you.
Yeah. Nightmares.
But yeah, so then I learned that you can turn your database first into code first, and then I loved code first from that point on. I'm like, why would I want to create my own DB context file when I can just do database first and it maintains it for me?
Dapper, like Julius mentions Dapper there. Dapper's one of the things I'm going to explore as part of why should I use. I want to explore more. When should I use this? Because I've got query concerns. I've got, so I have a big problem with putting things in stored procs.
Yeah, I really don't like using stored procs. I converted pretty much all of them into C#. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, it is so hard to debug when
Yeah.
it's actually the stored procedure that has the calculation error. Like
Hmm.
there was one number that was getting subtracted as opposed to getting added in one of these really, really long. This stored procedure calls this other one,
Yeah.
calls this other one, and then aggregates the data. And oh, it was so bad. So now
Yeah.
it's in C
I
sharp.
have a general. I have some stuff in Liquid Sky that's installed procs, and I'm concerned about the performance impact of it when it's not installed procs. That's the challenge. So
Oh yeah, yeah, that was
I'll
big
be
too.
exploring Dapper at some point as well.
Yeah, I guess that's a really really big thing that I learned early on too. Was when I turned everything into Entity Framework, it was so easy to debug, but it took about 4 times as long.
Yeah, you've got to look at the performance and how it translates. It's got a lot better, but it's still not perfect.
All right, well, it is time for us to get to that segment of the stream for stand up. Since you're on the phone,
Okay. Well,
so
yesterday was working with the Entity Framework, right? And that was a challenge, but we overcame that. And then today was about writing the getting the UI back on task. So focusing on those that layout of the UI and the challenges that poses. So I'll be doing more of that. That's learning how to use PrimeNG and Angular more.
you need anyone after the stream? I mean, after the stand up?
Unless you want to do some mock-ups, that'd be awesome.
No, I have work to do. I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah. If you want to use your Figma talents to build some mock-ups, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I really would. I would do that on a Friday if you wanted, or even on my regular.
To see how you'd approach that would be cool.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm really enjoying working in Figma. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Fun. But thank you so much for being here. You are an amazing guest. Love having you on here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, looking forward to your stream tomorrow morning.
Take care. Oh, you mean Monday?
It's gonna happen.
It's Friday.
You're streaming. I won't be at your stream tomorrow morning. But you heard it here first. TBDGamer is streaming Saturday morning. You'll be doing more. Oh, I keep forgetting the name of your multi-console system, gaming system.
On my Mr. FPGA.
On your Mr. FPGA.
Yeah. If I stream on the weekends, it's gaming more mainly. So more retro game stuff. Wow. So cool. Well,
all right.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. And thank you all for being here. Of course, Zulia said, company I did an apprenticeship at used stored procedures a lot, but that was a code base. But yeah, that was a code base grown over 25 years in Power Builder, not .NET. Also had some debugging fun there. But good opportunity to learn SQL, I bet. I was really grateful that I did spend a lot of time in SQL at university, and that was the thing that I focused on. So when I got to this code base and just about all of their functions were in SQL, yeah. Oh no! Big Gamey wanted to come into the voice thingy, but we're ending our stream. I'm sorry, Big Gamey. Thank you, Dukasoft, for doing the shout out for him earlier. I wouldn't have seen it because I get blind when I'm also using voice. When I'm also receiving voice, whatever. You know what I mean. What else happened though? What else happened? I don't know what else happened. In the context, it's also worth remembering .any. We talked about that. ¿Qué más? There's an any async. Yeah, and I showed that to you, Dukasoft. The right tool for the right job. Oh, EF is the devil, says Napalm. Dapper all the things. And also, hi, Napalm. I didn't actually say it out loud, but we did greet you when you came in chat. And then TBDGamer said, legacy apps with stored procedures everywhere are really hard to translate. Yes, but it is still one of my favorite types of projects, types of work to do is bringing legacy applications up to modern technology and stuff. But yeah. Again, really appreciate you guys being here. I have no idea who's online because I was having way too much fun chatting with TBD and the rest of you. We're going to, just because it's the first one that I see, right on over to Simple Game Dev. Simple Game Dev. If you guys don't know Simple Game Dev, he is the creator of Artificial and now Sector Zero. You can see a link to Sector Zero, which is the prequel to Artificial. It'll be a free game that'll get you interested in wanting to play Artificial. It kind of looks like he's doing Artificial development today, which is fun. But yeah, it looks amazing. It's Portal inspired, Half-Life inspired, just pretty much Valve inspired. Speaking of Valve, I watched a movie called Archive over the weekend, and they were mentioning Black Mesa, and I don't know if it's maybe because they were in the same universe as Valve games, but it's probably just that it's an actual place or something. I don't know. Anyway, it was cool. But that's it for now. Oh, my stand up real quick. I was working on the well history UI and design and all that stuff, and I'm implementing it, getting it all hooked up to the back end, and it's going really well. It's moving along a lot faster because of design being done. So that's it for me. Until the next time. Ciao. Half-Life Black Mesa was a thing. Yeah. Okay. Ciao.